Alright, hello everyone and welcome to my brand new channel. The Almost Adequate Gaming is kind of an inside joke and perhaps one day I will explain it. But we're going to start off with a brand new franchise mode zoo, which I called Wonder World Zoo. Just because I thought it would be a pretty neat title, because the goal is to build a zoo based on location. And we're going to start off with South America, move our way central, and the north to the left we can go, say, China or Asia in general, and then to the right we can go Africa, maybe in Australia. But for now I'm just looking at possible exhibits that I can include right off the bat. I will also say, well, first of all, what I'm doing right here is I'm going to draw out and trace the current electricity that's included with the entrance to the zoo. Furthermore, what I'm also going to be doing is quite a bit of time-lapsing, simply so we can keep the video relatively short and all the meticulous sort of stuff won't necessarily need to be prolonged, if you will. So that we have this drawn out, I am working on an entrance. I'm not necessarily always sure what to do with the entrance of a zoo, but I decided I want to try to scale up a mountain, or just something along those lines, and have some sort of platform on either side. That wasn't necessarily part of my original plan, but I kind of liked the way it looked, so I just went with it. And you will see that I'm going to be kind of playing with the shape a little bit here and there. But I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out overall. As you can see, I'm still shaping, and I'm obviously recording this after... I'm recording the audio after I did the session, which was roughly, I think, 3 hours and 20 minutes. So it was a long session. So I'm just going to go ahead and narrate the rest of the way. And right here, I am working on some water that's going to surround I guess you can call it a small mountain, a short little mountain. I might actually implement more of them throughout. I'm not exactly sure yet, but we'll get to that as we go along. So basically the idea I had in mind as I was drawing this out is to have a pathway leading through the mountain to the first exhibit. And I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with this platform yet, so I thought I'd fill it with trees, and I kind of liked the way that it turned out. I just wanted to use the existing trees that are already around the area, just to keep finances short. And I decided some long grass would go well with that, and thought, what a cool thing to do to have some waterfalls on either side. And so I went with it, and I think I like the way that it looks, although it's not complete. I think there's quite a bit of work left to do on the entranceway, especially when I start to beautify it and make it look a lot more natural. And so now it's time to set up the first exhibit. And the first thing I want to do is set up power. And I want to make sure that power is relatively consistent throughout the entire zoo. So I thought if I start out with that, at least I'll know that everything's covered, and I know where I can scale the first exhibit. And I wasn't sure at this point what I wanted to start out with. All I knew is that I wanted to start out with South America habitat of some sort. So now that I've got the power supply roughly where I want it, I want to keep it away, obviously, from visitors, because otherwise it'll cause a negative effect. So I drew out some pathing for the employees, just so I can make sure that all the different staff buildings will align properly. I don't start out with a mechanic research center or a mechanic workshop quite yet. And I've already done 2 sessions so far But if you like what you see, or if you have any suggestions, I would really appreciate it, because although I've practiced around with Planet Zoo quite a bit, but I'm definitely not well versed in building and being all creative quite yet. So any suggestions will be greatly appreciated. Your support is obviously very crucial for this. So I didn't know I was going to do this quite yet, but I like the idea of having some exhibits. So when the people first walk through the mountain, they get their first experience of the zoo with some exhibits here. And I like the fact that I was able to push them into the mountainscape itself and just clear just enough of the rock so that you can see the exhibit life itself to start out with. I'll have to remember which ones I started out with. I can't remember off the top of my head. I probably should have wrote them down. But all four are from South America, and I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. Obviously it's not finished because I want to surround each exhibit with some more rock to make it look more like it was incorporated and meant to be there. So I'll probably do that, maybe some little plant life as well to go in between the rocks and whatnot. But I like the way that this turned out, having the 3D on both the left and right of each exhibit, but then just the 2D in the background. It makes it look like the exhibit actually pushes out far into the distance. So I was pretty happy with that. So the first habitat I think we're going to do is the Cuvier's dwarf caiman. Now I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but yeah, let me know if I didn't pronounce it correctly, because I probably butchered it. So in order to make this happen, I want everyone to be able to walk kind of around it, and also be able to walk into the exhibit without actually being in it, if that makes sense. So basically the center is going to hover over the water where the caimans can actually swim. And it turns out that the customers really like it, so I'm pretty happy with that. Right now I'm just drawing out the pathway on either side so that everyone can get better views, especially as the zoo grows in population. And I think I'm also going to figure out a way to, and maybe you can give me some suggestion, but a way to have a cover for when it rains and whatnot, because I think that's going to be important, especially for everyone's happiness level. I'm actually not sure if rain does affect that or how cold it gets. In the next episode you'll see that I added extra heaters for when it does snow, and hopefully that does improve their overall experience in the zoo. I suppose we'll see. So yeah, we're going to go with the Cuvier's dwarf caiman. And so now I just go ahead and draw out the terrain, and I'm going to do that in a time lapse here. I'm just basically going on a whim because this is actually the first caiman exhibit that I've done. I have not done one in the past before. I've done crocodiles or alligators, whatever are available, but I haven't done this. So I want to make sure that they have enough platform, and I want the caretaker, or caretaker or whatever they are, to be able to get in without actually going through the side. I like the idea of having short access to each exhibit or each habitat whenever possible. So I like the way this looks overall. Of course, I'm gonna beautify this quite a bit later on, but you'll see that I kind of struggled with the habitat entrance. So I tried moving the barrier a little bit, but it still wasn't working out. So I think eventually what I ended up doing was was actually removing that part of the barrier just so I could fit it, and then work the barrier around that way. And it seemed to work, the barrier entrance way. So thankfully that worked out pretty well. And then so I had to hire the staff, obviously, because otherwise we can't get the caimans into the exhibit or the habitat. So I had to play with that a little bit more just so I can make that happen. So now I think I had to actually select each one individually, which I didn't quite expect to have to do that, but it ended up working out. I like the way the waterfalls look, so I'm really looking forward to make it to really sprucing it up, because obviously it doesn't line up or anything. It was just an idea. I wanted to see what it would look like. So now that I see the full potential, if you will, I'm really looking forward to it. Maybe even putting some water on the individual left and right platforms just to make it look more legitimate. I mean, obviously it's not super realistic, but I'm happy with it. I'd like to know what you think as well. Obviously, you see, I've got other animals from previous franchises that I've played around with, but this actually might be one of the best exhibits that I've built, which, again, almost adequate. So the bar's not set very high right now. So right now I'm just adjusting the temperatures. Thankfully, each one of the exhibits requires the same temperature. So I'm just doing that for the moment. And then, of course, I'll have to press play to make sure that the settings go into effect. I really like the wood walk pathway too. I've thought about playing around with some custom pathways to just barely lay over the path that each customer can walk on, but I'm pretty happy with it. And I'm just taking in the way that this habitat looks like. Again, I'm pretty happy with the way it turns out. I kind of like the idea of connecting the water from the front and into this exhibit, because I'm not entirely sure. I forgot to check, but I'm not entirely sure if the water filtration system will reach the entrance. So if it gets murky, that might have a negative effect on each one of the customers. But I'll have to remember. Maybe you can remind me to double check that. But this is just a temporary pathway for the employees. Certainly not permanent. I'll have to figure something out later on. I'm not necessarily disappointed with it, but it's just not quite what I'd like it to be. So here we have the caimans entering into the zoo, their habitat for the first time. And what better opportunity than now to figure out exactly what kind of climate that they like. I had a feeling that since it is South America, they might want something a lot more tropical, per se, but I wasn't entirely sure, but my suspicions were correct. So I'm going to go ahead and time-lapse this as well, just so I can get close up the habitat entryway. Obviously that's going to be very important. And then also add some extra plant life, because it looks like they prefer a moderate amount of coverage from plants and trees and whatnot. I also noticed that they don't like a lot of rock. And from what I can tell, maybe you can confirm this, but from what I can tell, they don't register the scenery rocks that I placed over the entryway as part of the calculation. But I wanted to make sure that the rock isn't overwhelming, because originally the underneath the water, the land under the water was actually rock, so I had to change that to hard soil because they do like soil. And of course, now I want to make sure that they can't escape. I'm also doing adjustments to the habitat itself, just so they can't climb over and escape that way. But also, I will be making some adjustments to the habitat size itself, just to have a more realistic calculation. Because the way that it's set up right now, it shows that the caimans have way more than enough walking space. But as I do all the adjustments, make sure that they can't escape through the front, it was really evident rather quickly that they don't have enough space to walk around. More than enough space to swim. That was never an issue. But now they won't be able to escape from the front. In fact, I don't think they have any escape points at this point. So here I am making the adjustments so I can get a better calculation to how much walking space they have. Of course, I lower the invisible habitat walls, I suppose, barriers, just so the customers don't freak out. I had to play with that a little bit. And of course there's one more escape path, and that's just because of the one barrier that I set up that was out of place. So now here I am fixing up the walking area, so that way they can move around more. And I decide to extend out that a little bit more. I'm glad I did, because it gives the customers more of an opportunity to see them walking around. It brings them up a little bit closer, and I really like that. I do want to add a mud bath at some point, but I just didn't see a good fit for it quite yet. Maybe when I spruce up a little bit more, I'll be able to fit it more appropriately. And surprise to me, they actually like a lot of short grass. Who would have known? Alright, just playing with a little bit of the trees here, and I think I got the layout pretty good. Again, the overall layout of all the plant life is not necessarily permanent. It's just enough to get started within a certain budget range. I do like having a little bit of color though. That's really nice. I do want to fill it up a lot more to make it look a lot more natural. But so far, I think it turned out pretty good. It's a good temporary thing. And of course, I've got to add some education. I wasn't quite happy with putting it to one side, so I decided to move the middle monitor in the middle instead. I think it looks pretty good. And of course, you got to add just a plethora of bins, because customers are a messy bunch. One thing that I learned from a video of somebody else is that if the customers use the recycle bins, you actually earn conservation points. And I wasn't sure if that was true to this point. I do find out later on. I think it was in the next session that I realized that it was true. But I decided to add both bins just to be on the safe side. Never have too many, really. Although I don't necessarily like having all that many simply because I don't think it looks very good, but if it makes the customers happy, then it's worth it. And of course, got to make sure to have donation bins. Don't want to lose out on any opportunity to make money. Or for customers to give money. Really do like the way it looks, especially from up here. And once I see where the customers like to stand and view the caimans, I'm going to go ahead and add more donation boxes after that point. I'm also I add some speakers and some more monitors here. I think I add the speakers actually a little bit later. I think all of these species as of right now I have not used in any of my previous franchise zoos, so I'll have to research every single one of them, which is fine. That's not an issue at all. It just adds to the adventure. I had a little bit of a struggle with this one. It didn't want to line up properly, so I had to manually do it, but then it clicked up after that. First, gotta check that each one is displaying the correct exhibit. I guess you can see which ones I chose to start out with. I couldn't remember off the top of my head, but there you go. And also, one idea I might play around with is actually having custom names for each exhibit and each habitat. So if you have any ideas, please mention them in the comments below, and we can get creative with them as well. So that way maybe I could do some sort of sign for each one as well. It's just one more way of decorating up the each exhibit, which will make the customers happy. And here I go ahead and add an information booth. And I'm not fully convinced I'm just going to keep it at that location. I guess we'll find out at some point. Later on down the road, but where it is right now is sufficient enough. It's adequate. I'm going to go and say hello to one of the VIP members here, I think. Oh no, I add a restroom. I add a loo. And one thing that I have found out from previous practice, if you will, is that customers don't mind paying 25 cents to use the bathroom. So I have that synchronized on all bathrooms that I add on later in this franchise series. I really do like the mountain. It's a good idea. I don't know if I've ever seen one done before. I could very well be wrong. Oh, there's the VIP member that I say hello to get my 20 conservation points. And right here, you're going to see that I try to play around with the idea of having some vendors inside of the mountainside as well. And I can kind of make it work. But ultimately, I'm just not very happy with it, so I just undo everything after a couple of attempts. Just wasn't working for me, and I accidentally undid one one step too far, but it was an easy fix. Yeah, I really like that view. I think it's good. It's going to look even better once I add some rock around each one of those exhibits. It's going to look fantastic, I think. Maybe even some lighting, some custom color lighting can look pretty cool as well. So I think what I do here, what I decide here is that since the side of the mountain is not working out for having vendors, and I really do want to make sure to fulfill all the needs of the customers, is to build a eating platform on this right side here. But I have to have another look at the waterfall. Looks good. Really looking forward to sprucing it up and making it look even better. I do like the concept though. Looks really good. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'm the only one who thinks so. I doubt it. So yeah, just checking on people, see what they think. So far, I mean, tickets are at a good price, obviously. I haven't changed them yet. And this is where I think it was here that I found out that customers thought it was really cool that they were technically inside of the Cayman exhibit. So it's good. I'm glad that the customers like that. So I think it's here that I start working on the little eating area, if you will. So let's do that time lapse here. At this point, I am getting pretty low on funds, so I have to let things play out. And there we go, adding a couple more bins and it right next to the education. Seems worked out pretty well that I placed them where I did. Adding extra bins. Research is going well. I thought about adding a fish feeder, but I decided just a large feeding tray will do for the time being. And here I like allowing for condiments. Now for the more expensive burger or fries or whatnot, I will go for a lot of condiments, but for the lesser expensive burger and whatnot, I just do some. Not a lot, but some. But I just think, if you're going to pay like $12 for a burger or whatever, might as well get some ketchup. But, yeah, donations are looking good. Looking really good. I was quite happy with that. In fact, I was down to only like $1,000, and I just racked up $4 extra $1,000 right off the bat. And I think one of them was from reaching one of the goals, but still. I'm glad that the customers are donating. Makes me happy, and it allows us to expand the zoo much faster. Not too fast, obviously, because I got to do a lot of research. Because I don't know if I've done too many South America exhibits or habitats. This might be the first time. But I'm pretty happy with the way that it looks. Yeah, let me know any ideas, especially for how to do a cover over the walking path, because I might want to actually cover all of it, or maybe not. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't made up my mind altogether yet. But it looks great. It looks great so far. At least I think so. And so here, one thing that I do like about these, like, do not feed the animals or do not disturb, is that they also act as a secondary function as security cameras. So I actually add a couple of regular security cameras inside as well. I want to make sure to alleviate as much theft or pocket picking or anything like that as much as possible. And there I add the education. education speakers. And we don't want any pocket picking or anything like that. Not good. Which I haven't added a security guard at this point yet either. I keep checking occasionally to make sure because to start out with, on 2 of the exhibits, I could only get one gender of each. So one I had a female and one I had a male. But at this point, a male and a female were available. So I picked those up now that they were available. Didn't want to lose out on that opportunity. And obviously the layout for these is not very good because I haven't done the research yet. But that will change very soon. Oh, there's the profits that I got. So there's the extra $1,000. Also, if you prefer that I actually just record and narrate as I go along, I'm more than happy to do that as well. I just don't know if I want to have like hour-long videos. I'm okay with it, but I think it just depends. I mean, everybody has their own preference on how long of a video that they want to watch, especially if I might only work on one exhibit at a time. And here's where I actually hire a mechanic for the first time. Now that money's looking, it's a little tight, but it's okay. That does change, thankfully. But yeah, if you prefer that I actually do voice narrations as I build the zoo and work on each habitat, please let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you have a specific name for this habitat, because I like creativity, I like suggestions, and you know, may even look into renaming each one of the animals later on down the road. I don't know if I want to go into that quite yet. Obviously, I need to hire more vendors, but I'm trying to keep the budget reasonable for the time being. Thankfully, even though they're not there yet and the customers are thirsty, they do come back relatively quickly. But to save time and to avoid this situation from occurring longer than it has to, I decided to add an extra path. And again, it's temporary. So, no big deal. That can always change as we expand the zoo. But I'm pretty happy. I was originally only going to start off with one exhibit and one habitat. But why not do 4? The only drawback to doing 4 exhibits and a habitat is I had to do the research on each one of them. And I don't really want to hire multiple veterinarians right off the bat. But so far, so good. I mean, obviously education's not going to be very good for the time being, but that's okay. We'll get through it. And look at how majestic that caiman looks. That is just fantastic. So majestic. I love the animation. They got the swim animation down. They got it down. So that's probably about it. I'm not sure how much more I do here. So if you like what you see, I would appreciate it if you could give me a thumbs up, and if you could leave a comment below, and if you would subscribe. I would really appreciate it. It will do me a great deal of effort in pursuing the growth of this channel. So I want to thank you for watching. If you made it all the way through the end of this video, thank you for watching. Love others as you love yourself, and I will see you in the next video, probably in the next couple of days. So until next time,